Hello everyone, welcome back to Gravity Well Theatre presents Impossible Landscapes. Bit of a different session this time, as it's just me and Sol. We're doing a bit of an interlude between chapters. So last time around you finished the first branch of the campaign, the Night Floors, where the team were on Operation Alice investigating the disappearance of an artist known as Abigail Wright. She left a strange shrine in her apartment, and investigations reveal that the building that she lived in had, well, during the day 3 floors, and during the night a seemingly endless amount of floors filled with all manner of weirdness, from living puppets to strange people living up there, seemingly from like different eras. There was personal references to your agents' real lives, and an invisible dog who later became visible. Yeah, go back and watch if you want to find out all about that. The operation ended with you setting fire to the night floors, and most dramatically killing off a potential witness to the supernatural above the 3rd floor, Detective Graham Giordanda, who you tried very best to convince to keep quiet about what he'd seen there, but he seemed adamant that he was going to share it, and the NYPD were like right about to arrive to speak to him, and that it was going to be a whole mess. So yeah, you shot him and dumped his body in the night floors, burnt the place up, and yeah, luckily seemingly managed to get away with the crime, because there was no body to find, because he's out of this world now. And that's when all the agents went their separate ways, and time is progressing. So we're going to deal with what's happened since that point, and the years that follow. First thing, there's a few sort of bits of housekeeping to do on your Delta Green sheets.
Okay.
As a result of going through your first full mission, you're like fully awakened to the world of the supernatural. So you choose what's called a damaged veteran template. There's 4 choices. You can either be affected by extreme violence, which means that you would add 10% to your occult, reduce your sanity by 5, and subtract 3 from your charisma and all your bonds, and you become adapted to violence, which means that anytime that you lose sanity from violence, you always take the minimum possible, which usually means that you don't take any sanity damage unless it's like extremely violent. The other option is captivity or imprisonment. You weren't imprisoned necessarily, but this is the one that adapts you to helplessness. So the sort of feelings that you might have of being out of control would apply for this one, where this one's 10 to occult, sanity down by 5, subtracting 3 from your power, and you become adapted to helplessness. Or another option is hard experience, where you'd add 10 to occult and 10 to any 5 skills apart from unnatural, up to a maximum of 90%, and you reduce your sanity by 5 and remove a bond entirely. And the last one is things man was not meant to know, which would increase your unnatural by 10 and occult by 20. You'd reduce your sanity by your power rating, and you'd get another disorder.
Okay. What was the third one?
The third one is hard experience. Increases a bunch of skills, and you'd reduce sanity by 5 and remove a bond.
I think I'm I'm gonna go with that one. That one kind of seems to be befitting what I went through, killing the detective and the bad burns, and his killing the detective. Um, I was already making the church parish bond bad because I killed somebody and I'm not telling them about it. So,
Yeah, so it would make sense for you to sort of separate yourself from them entirely and
hmm
like lock yourself away in that respect. And because you're sort of your day-to-day job is at a computer desk, this is the first proper operation you've had either sort of in the FBI or the actual Delta Green supernatural side of things.
hmm
So you picked up a bunch of skills along the way. Yeah, so that was an extra 10% occult.
Cult. Okay, so that goes 40. Okay.
And an extra 10% to any 5 skills apart from unnatural. And I'd probably say ones that you touched on in the night floors.
Search. I think I'm gonna go with search. Was one.
Maximum is 90%.
Not unnatural. Already did a cult. Okay. Oh gosh, this is hard deciding.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Uh-huh.
Have you got the grayed out ones listed on your sheet as well?
Yeah, they're there. The grade ones.
So they're an option if you can think of a justification.
Okay.
Just in case they were hidden, because I think there's a button to stop them showing.
Mm.
And also at any at the bottom with the brackets, you can sort of create your own skill, so like any type of craft, any type of art, any type of science. Languages.
Let's see.
Like,
I think I'm gonna add 10 to history. We dealt with a lot of historical stuff, trying to figure out where this building and everything came along.
yeah, definitely a lot of that.
Survival. It's 3 of them. Persuade. Because I sure did not help in persuading the detective to not call people.
Yeah, very true.
I feel like I used Eurocus. I can't speak this morning. But what did I use
Bureaucracy.
it for? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of that in sort of dealing with the FBI and thinking of... I think he used it a bit to get the paperwork for the building and
Okay.
various government
Yeah,
stuff.
do that. So that was the 5th one. And then I'll lose a bond, right?
Yeah, you completely delete one of your bonds and also reduces sanity by 5.
And so I'm gonna delete the church parish because I stopped going to church. I killed somebody and I feel terrible going to church for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Not going to be good on your soul or your mind.
So the sanity,
Reduced by 5.
42 out of 90. I'm reducing the 42 or the 94?
The 42.
42. Okay.
The 94 is because the maximum is 100 minus your unnatural skill.
Got you.
Well, 99 minus your
So I'm down to 37 there. Do I reset the breaking point?
Did you hit a breaking point at that?
I think I did.
It's listed as 30 unless you changed it, so you should be okay.
Okay.
Yeah, once you go below 30, that's when you get another disorder.
Okay.
So if I recall correctly, you hit one, and that's when you got your obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So we'll go over what Macintosh has been up to for the intervening years. It's going to be sort of 3.5 years later, and we'll pick up for this. The other thing that you get is you get to pick a home scene, which is like a downtime action, like in One Ring. And there's a bunch of those, and these are, because we're skipping ahead years rather than weeks, they're better than they usually would be in the core book. So all quite in depth. I'll sort of summarize. So fulfill responsibilities would be stuff improving your bonds, which is capped by your charisma. So I think actually because you got rid of the church, it wouldn't actually do anything because your other bonds are a max.
Mm-hmm.
Back to nature is spending time on your own recuperating, and that can restore sanity. You can establish a new bond, so someone else or another group in your life that's now significant to you over the course of these 3 years. You can go to therapy, which can restore your sanity. Within that, there's a choice as to whether or not you want to tell your therapist the truth about why you've gone insane, which carries its own risks. There's a lesser restoration of sanity if you don't tell your therapist the truth versus if you do. You can improve skills or stats, training to increase either of those. You can fulfill your personal motivation, which can restore a bit of sanity. You can learn special training, and that's when you can do things like learn how to pick locks or scuba dive or parachute, anything that's not covered by an actual skill roll. You can stay on the case, where you can continue and focus on something from the case and learn some more clues at the cost of little sanity. And you can study the unnatural, where you can investigate an unnatural thing that you've found. For an example of that would be you found that book with the picture of the horse on with the strange language.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got no clue about the strange language, digging into that further would require you to take that.
Okay, so I do one of those or any number of them?
It's going to be one of those. But before the next chapter, it'll be 3 total. But I think what I'm planning on doing is doing 3 of these mini episodes and do a new action each time.
Okay. Well, considering what Macintosh has been through, therapy is definitely in order.
Yeah, seems like a good plan.
Being burned badly and murdering somebody and the weird stuff on the night floors. Yeah.
Okay. So it says that therapy requires a luck roll with a 20% bonus, or the therapist's psychotherapy skill at 20%. And you decide whether or not you tell the therapist the truth. If you tell the truth, I get to decide whether or not the therapist believes you, and your therapist might lose sanity. And if your therapist thinks you're lying, you make another luck roll. And you either gain a little bit of sanity or quite a bit more. And if you describe illegal violence, and it sounds like further violence is imminent, I can decide that you're reported to the authorities. If you don't tell them the truth, it basically limits the sanity restoration.
Okay.
So do you think, what do you tell your therapist and what don't you tell your therapist?
I think I'm going to tell her everything about the night floors with the exception of me murdering the detective. We're going to
Okay.
leave that little
So
bit out.
So you're giving the full story about the impossible floors above the McAllister building.
Yeah, and then when it comes down to the detective and we were leaving the building, I'm going to just say he disappeared. We don't know what happened to him, and leave it at that.
Sure. Okay. Yes, let's do the dice rolls, see how that comes out. So, yeah, so roll luck with 20%, so you just need to get under 70.
I didn't give me the option to add 20% to that.
That's okay, you
I
still
passed it.
succeed, which is good. Okay, so then roll a d6. That's pretty good. So you're going to restore 8 sanity.
Okay. I'm up to 45 now. Okay.
Okay. Do you reckon you'd go through the professional side of it and the FBI probably have their own psychologists in-house, or do you think you'd go private?
I think
Either way,
since
in theory, it would be confidential, but yeah, it's a different kind of angle if you went through work.
for this one, since it wasn't officially FBI related, I'm gonna go the private side for this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so you have, over the course of the next couple of years, you have these sessions with a therapist, and I take it you don't... do you, as soon as you start these appointments, are you just gushing about what you've been through, or does it take you quite a while to sort of get through to what's...
I'm gonna take it slow at first, just telling them little bits, starting off with the weirdness in Abigail's apartment and the things we're finding before I get into the night floors and things appearing and disappearing. I'm gonna, take quite a few sessions before we get there.
Yeah, so I'd say that helps your case in terms of your therapist paying attention to you as you're going through all the initially sort of weird but explainable things that you found in Abigail's apartment, and there's a lot of things that you couldn't explain, but they don't necessarily mean that you're crazy yourself, and then you get into crazier and crazier experiences. And your therapist is sort of unreadable, in a sense. She roll a human roll.
Okay. So
Yeah, so your therapist, you're not sure whether or not she believes you or not, but she's very professional throughout all your sessions. and she gives the usual kind of spiel of how does this make you feel, and what do you think you would do in different circumstances. Has this kind of thing happened? Do you think it's notable that most of the trauma that you're just describing was after you find yourself in this fire? All that kind of sort of justifying, not outright telling you that what you're saying is made up, but trying to come up with explanations for why this might have happened to you. Maybe there's an explanation other than it happening in reality. And she gives you a bunch of like coping strategies and things which do help. But she's a good therapist. She listens to you and takes it at face value seemingly, but doesn't offer her own opinion on whether or not she believes you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so apart from the downtime actions, there's a bunch of other stuff that we should sort of talk through. So yeah, this is going to be 3.5 years later. What changes and things happen in Makatosh's life, do you think, over the couple of years?
Well, the biggest one's gonna be I stop attending church. She just can't bear going to church, and even having confessed the murder to her priest, she just feels wrong being there.
So you did confess?
Well, to the priest.
Okay.
Trying to be a good Catholic and confess your sins and stuff. Not to a therapist.
Was that the very last time you went to church? It was like shortly after?
I'd say no, that wasn't the last time. That would have been like the first time back. She would have gone to confession and gone a few more times, but just couldn't bring herself to forgive what she did and felt wrong going to church.
Yeah. So your priest certainly looks at you differently after that conversion. You can sort of tell in their eyes, and maybe the people that attend, the parishioners, that are obviously they don't know anything, but you suspect some of them see you differently. There must be some way that you're acting differently. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
that's how does your obsessive compulsive disorder manifest? What kind of tics do you start falling into when you feel stressed? What do you do?
Well, I would say keeping everything in the house just meticulous. Everything's got to be in its place. Don't move this, put this back from where you took it, especially with a kid in the house, and they tend to kick off his shoes wherever and like put them back on the shoe rack and hang this towel right, and just be meticulous about everything in its place.
Yeah, everything being where it should be. It's definitely a big thing. Particularly because he's sort of probably thinking back to the night floors and opening a door and it's one thing, and then opening it again, it's a completely different thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Just like knowing that things are exactly where they should be.
Yeah.
And don't change.
And then after the disaster of Abigail's apartment with just things randomly all over the place, and it's like, nope, I want to make sure it's the same every day. And
yeah.
And like you said,
does your family still go to church? And what have you told them about why you're not going?
Well, my kid, he's in private school, so he's still going to church as part of school. But as to why we don't go on Saturday or Sunday anymore, I'm always finding something that has to be done. is a reason to not go to church. So, oh, we got to go here and we got to do this. Something that just happens to fall at just the right time is to explain that's why we're not going. That's why we can't go.
And your friends from church, if they sort of try and get in touch with you, are you sort of blowing them off constantly? Or?
I would say I probably run into them at school, went picking up and dropping off the kid, and just chit chat to them there. And yeah, they do ask, oh, we haven't seen you in mass on Sunday, and of course oh yeah, sorry, we've been too busy, had this going on, that going on. Uh, you know how it is,
Yeah.
doing things with the kids and the family, and
Yeah, everything's sort of a bit at arm's length.
yeah.
So when we start, so Nathan will be 14, so he'll be further along in school.
Hmm.
Anything else happening in sort of the family side of things?
Nothing new. We would continue with everything as it was before. I'm still working for the FBI. Still doing. Me and the kiddo are still doing our jujitsu thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Work would probably be steadily picking up. It's a department that's growing pretty consistently.
Yeah.
Do you think you might have been promoted, or you're still in the same role, but you're probably sort of more senior?
Yeah. I could see a promotion to. I don't know how
Are
all
you
those.
managing a team of analysts, perhaps?
Yeah. That sounds like a reasonable role. I don't know how the FBI is organized to say.
Neither do I, to be honest. But yeah, your career progresses. Partly sort of time spent on it, but also the budget going towards cybercrime is steadily increasing.
Yeah.
It's still going to be pre 9/11, so it hasn't completely grown.
Yeah, the
in terms
whole
of national
computer thing
security
is
and
still
things.
very new, so
But yeah, it's increasing. And then there's the sort of Delta Green side of stuff. I wanted to ask about, because you were the one that had basically all of the evidence. If you would have spoken to Agent Marcus at the end of the operation, he wouldn't have requested the evidence to be handed over. And if you specifically asked him about it, he would have said that you need to keep it safe and away. And if you need to, he can arrange for somewhere for it to be stored. But his recommendation is to keep it to hand and locked away. But what do you think you would do without everything that you collected from?
I would have found I would have gotten like a safety deposit box at a bank or something like that to store it in. I wouldn't want that in my house where my kid or husband could find that.
Yeah,
and
you can definitely get a safety deposit box.
Definitely don't want to store that at the FBI.
No, probably not a good idea. Yeah, you get it in a safety deposit. Another thing that's notable in whenever you sort of decide that you need to store it, you sort of looking through things for the last time as you're deciding what's going in. There is one piece of evidence that seems to be missing, which is the napkins with the elaborate designs on of the mechanical devices with the Portuguese writing that said lion and scribe. You just can't seem to find them when you're collating the evidence. And yeah, that's a concern on your mind, but there's nothing you can do really to chase up what might have happened to them, so you can't really ask. You think maybe one of the rest of the team might have taken them at some point before you split up, but you don't have any way of contacting them. And over this time, you're not brought in on any Delta Green operations, but you do occasionally get like encrypted emails asking you to chase up similar things to what they've asked you for in the past. They're still interested in you following up on a private UFO investigation, not company, I guess, but private interest, I guess, called Saucer Watch. And you've been, prior to the Night Floors, monitoring their web traffic at the behest of Delta Green. And the one interesting thing that happens over this time is in September of '97, you're monitoring their forums, their private web forums, sort of accessible only to their admin team and like high-ranking members, or senior members, I guess. You find a web post which has, yeah, it's just, it definitely seems like it would be of interest to Delta Green, which would be this.
Okay.
So shortly after you find this forum post, in fact, sort of the evening of, maybe after you've contacted Delta Green, sort of to alert them to it. Actually, before you've even alerted Delta Green, the website goes down completely. And trying to access it again, it seems like everything, both the private forums and the public-facing website, are completely like 404'd. Like it's just been completely removed from the internet. You'd taken copies of that post and you sent that across to Delta Green, and you get like a short reply to ask you to continue to look into this area where possible and keep an eye out for references to Blue Fly and Catalyst. But nothing else sort of comes of it after that point.
Okay.
And the last thing sort of to discuss before we go into the interlude would be, you've got a couple of books that you found over the course of the investigation. You didn't have time to read through them at the time, but now we're talking months and years.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to attempt to read any of the books that you found, or are you just locking them up in the safety deposit box untouched?
I
To
would
remind you, you've got
definitely review some of them, particularly the horse book with the strange writing, trying to figure out what that was.
okay. So just to remind you, I think these are the books that you've got in your person. So you've got the Roger Caroon book, Abby's Gone, that you found in Night Floors. A History of the Russo-Germanic Hegemony, 1911 to 1921. You've got the Red Book with the play The King in Yellow written in it. And yeah, the book with the horse on it. So you want to look into the horse book. Do you want to touch any of the other ones?
Um, I think over the 3 years, yeah, I would definitely touch the Red Book, and just because I've read the other Roger Croon books, I'd flip through Abby's Gone as well, just thinking it was maybe a first draft or a preview for him, looking through that. But the Red Book and the one with the horse would definitely get the most of my attention.
Okay. So the book with the horse is it's quite a large book. Its pages are kind of acetate, like plasticky material, and every single page has what seems to be like a cutout section, like an anatomical drawing, or yeah, anatomically correct drawing of a horse, and all its internal organs, its bones, right the way through. Like every page that you turn is like a millimeter deeper into the horse, and it goes with the horse facing left.
Mhm.
Yeah, every page goes deeper through the horse until it's just like the last page is the skin on the far side. And on the cover and on the writing throughout, there's annotations for all the different organs and things, and it's all written in a strange language that you just don't have um, any inkling about. It's not a Latin alphabet. It looks slightly Cyrillic, but it's not Russian. So you don't really know what to do with that. But there is, on the first page of the book, there's 3 signatures, like in different ink. The ones at the top down are more faded, so it looks to be owners over time. And the 3 names are A. Chastain, G. Castain, and H. Castain.
A, G, and H.
Yeah, the first one is spelled Chastain. If I'll put the names in the chat. Yeah, the first one's spelled A. Chastain, and then it's G. Castain and H. Castain.
Okay. Hmm.
In terms of the language, it's not something that you'd be able to just work out yourself necessarily. So if you want to chase it up further, what kind of lanes of research would you want to go down? Do you want to show this book to someone?
I'm gonna find, being the FBI, I would imagine we've got people on staff that know lots of languages, ciphers, things like that. So I'm gonna find one of those folks and just say, "Hey, I got this interesting book. I found it in a thrift store or something like that." And I thought the drawings were cool. Reminds me of this encyclopedia I had as a kid with human anatomy, but I'm wondering what language is this, just so I can try to figure out what it says.
Okay. Yeah, you certainly find someone that's like a language expert in the FBI. It doesn't seem like much of a stretch. Roll a luck test. So they give it a look over and are baffled by it as you. And the only thing that they really notice that it seems like a an ancient language of some kind, but it's weird that it's written in such a modern looking book, like made of acetate.
Okay. Well, with that, I thank them for looking at it for me, and So maybe I'll figure it out one day what it says, but for now, it's just a cool book.
Okay. And then in terms of the red book, actually we'll do that red book last. Reading Abby's Gone, it just takes you a few hours, maybe one go, or over the course of a couple of days to get through this book. And having read at least one or two of the other Roger Corroon books in the Night Sea, this one does seem quite different. There's some elements of the plot which seems to link to the other Night Sea books, but not all of it. The plot is that the main character called Abby lives in it's like a dystopian cyberpunk city, which is never mentioned in any of the other Night Sea books. And she's a painter, but she has to paint in secret to avoid breaking any creativity laws. And then one day she makes a painting, and the man that she's painted speaks to her through the painting and tries to convince her that she should travel through the painting and see the wonders of a place called Karsak. She refers to him as the salesman because he reminds her of a travel agent. And after some convincing, she travels through the painting, and then she has journeys through this dimension known as the Night Sea. And this is the part of the book which seems more like the rest of the series. The Night Sea is depicted as like this endless sea in like an eternal night, with like the occasional island of strange things, and most of the adventures are voyages across the Night Sea and then them stopping over at these places and having dramatic adventures. But it's never clear. The book doesn't end with her reaching Karsak, so it's not clear whether or not she reaches her eventual goal. And at least the books that you've read in this series, this character Abby has never been mentioned in any of them. You can also try a art writing test with a +20 bonus.
Art writing with what kind of bonus?
Plus 20%.
+20. Damn.
Okay. Remember to check these as well.
Oh, right.
And
So that was art and writing.
human earlier. I think those are the two that we've done. The only thing to remark upon the writing is it seems different to the other Roger Corroon books, and from what you remember, the other books are better written, so it does make sense that this is like an earlier draft. And looking at the publishing details, it does seem that this book was published first. But as far as you're aware, before you'd found this book, the first book in the series was Night Sea Dawning. From 1987. This one was published in 1986. Some information, basically.
Okay, good. I'm trying to write all this down.
Yeah, so that's basically what I just said.
Okay.
So I couldn't find the page.
Sales. Okay.
And the Red Book is one that you find yourself coming back to read a few times over the course of the next couple of years. And yeah, even if you've sealed it in the safety deposit box, occasionally you just feel the need to give it one more read through, because you're always sort of thinking about it. And yeah, it's only a short play. It's a 2-act play that you've read in full. You had time to read it in full back during the operation, involving this royal court in the city of Yatil, in a place called Carcosa, and the first act is all about introducing the people that the royal family and the various characters of the palace, and the fact that they're going to be putting on a grand masked ball, and it goes into all of the various troubles, and there's a few songs. And then the second act is this masked ball where a stranger arrives. He says to the partygoers that he wears no mask, despite having this what's described as like a pallid porcelain mask. But he imparts on the people that this is his true face, and this, towards the end of the play, the revelation seems to signal to everyone that the world is ending, and the play ends with the world ending. You can try another writing test with plus 20%.
Okay. I'm not doing very good on those.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean that's part of what's always brings you back to it. You kind of feel like there's something missing, maybe. It's sublime, and it's hard to say if it's perfect, but it's definitely something that is trying to tell you something that you don't yet understand, but you know that it's something really intricate and beautiful, but you just haven't quite got it. Yeah, so those would be the books, and then you've still got the history book stored away with the rest of the evidence. Just bear with me one moment.
Yeah, I can't see the history book calling to me like, it's just a history book about the building, big deal. The other ones are odd. Or the Roger Caroon one, like I said, I read some of his other books, so let me check this out. I hadn't seen this one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's still available for future reference if needed. So this brings us to New Year's Day, 1999. It is sometime after 5, so it's already dark. It's middle of winter. It's got to be pretty icy cold in New York, and you've been out on some kind of errand. Maybe you needed to pick up some groceries, or maybe it's just the one thing that you needed, like a light bulb or something. And you're in the region around your apartment. I think I've got your on the map. So you're living somewhere in Hoboken, over on the western side of Manhattan.
Mhm.
Took it at that. And yeah, so it's New Year's Day. How do you think you would have celebrated New Year's 98 to 99?
Oh, I would think we would have just had a little family thing, stayed in, try to stay out of the fray of crazy people and traffic. Nathan probably would have had a friend or two over, and we would have just low key had I don't want to say party, but just gotten some food and snacks and things for us, and stayed home, watch movies. The kids playing D&D, something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Over the last couple of years, he's still been really into D&D, and his friends come over most weeks to play their ongoing campaign, which he's always very excited about. And yeah, so this is the day after. Maybe you just need to get out of the house and take a bit of time to yourself. You pick up whatever you need for your errand, and you're on the way back, and you're going down like a commercial street near your building, which is not like a proper shopping district or anything. It's the grocery store is there, and a couple of small local businesses, like a hardware store and things.
Hmm.
But you go past down this street most days, and you find yourself looking into a storefront that you haven't sort of stopped at before. You've always walked past it, and you realised that you never really realised what kind of business was here. And yeah, it's looking through the store window. It's like small and cluttered, and it's covered by a rusty steel security gate. And there's a display, kind of polite to call it a display. It's mostly just a bunch of piles of books in the window. Yellowy pages, all sorts of different kinds of books, some sort of non-fiction, some fiction. And looking above the door and the storefront, there's only things that indicate what this shop is partly like mostly peeled away writing on the window in golden letters that would have once been quite fancy, but now have peeled away, so you can just about make out the word books, but there's no like name for the shop or anything. And something about this shop, yeah, it piques your interest. You've walked past this place nearly every day since you've moved to New York.
Okay, so, and I'm guessing it's not open right now.
It seems to be. There's lights on inside.
Oh, okay, okay. You said there was grates over the window. I thought it was closed. So I'm gonna decide to go on in, see what kind of books they got on the
Okay.
shelves.
Yeah, you open the door. It's nice and warm inside, especially coming out of the winter New York streets. And it's quite striking. You know, I mean, it's like a kind of classic second-hand bookstore in that everything is everywhere in kind of haphazard fashion. So you can see ahead of you lots and lots of shelves, but they kind of curve to the side a bit, and the shelves are of different kind of, clearly like bought in different times, and just to fill out more space. And
Its
you can
screen is
see a
just
bit in
black.
the carpet where it. Oh, okay. I think I might have fog of war on.
There we go.
There we are. And it looks like several, like rooms, partitioning walls of whatever the original building was, have been knocked through to make room for more shelves of books. And yeah, there's like an armchair like there, and it's all very cluttered. To your right, as you enter, there is a counter. There's a man behind the counter who I've got a headshot for somewhere. Yeah, so there's this man behind the counter who gives a polite, quite warm smile as you enter. The bell goes above the door. He's quite tall. He's meticulously dressed. He's wearing a rather fancy-looking waistcoat, which just contains a almost cartoonish paunch. And yeah, he smiles well and goes, "Good evening, madam."
Good evening. I have to say, I'm rather ashamed of myself. I've lived in the neighborhood many years and have never taken the time to stop in here. This looks to be a fantastic bookstore.
Ah, well, thank you. I will not take that the missing of your custom to heart. It's we do not do much to advertise, but we have been here a long time, and passing trade is good enough for me.
Yes, I love reading all sorts of things, and I've always been so busy, just never bothered to really take notice. But today, having the time, just had to come in.
Ah, yes. Well, I hope you find what you would like. This place it is an inconstant font of knowledge, but my lot in life is to fill all wanting vessels.
Oh, glad to hear that.
Is there anything in particular I can help you find?
No, I don't know yet. I'm gonna have to look around and see if something catches my eye. Uh,
By all means.
so I'm gonna kind of wander and see what I find, see if something catches my eye. Uh, Kind of keeping an eye out for the symbol that was on the red book, and possibly the characters I've seen in the book with the horse.
Yeah. Okay. Um. Yeah. Roll a search roll.
Oh, I hate that these things are not in alphabetical order. There it is. Oh my gosh.
Well, at least you get to tick it. So you look around a while. So you go down one of the aisles. From the counter, there's like 4 aisles of books, but as you go further, like about 20 feet down, the building seems to open up slightly, and there's like 5 more, and it's not they're not straight rows either. There's the shelves seem to sort of curve around in sort of higgledy-piggledy fashion. And there's a bit of a system in terms of which books are going where. Like looking at the shelves, you can see that there's the same author in general are next to each other. But apart from that, it's not really an alphabetical system or a topic system that you can determine easily. So you don't really find anything with those symbols, but you don't know what you'd look for anyway, because you don't know what language it is. You do stop by a section that seems to contain some role-playing books, which you sort of stop at to sort of see if maybe there's anything that's, that Nathan might appreciate. And there's a cardboard box near the section with a bunch of books in that have yet to be put on the shelves, which are these ones. So there's a copy of the Aliens Adventure game. There seems to be some kind of roleplay book in Swedish called Mutant. There's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the James Bond role-playing game. And then between the pages of one of these, there's just a piece of paper with some kind of scientific graph about a gravity well.
Well, having remembered the first Alien movie, and seeing the other ones, D&D and other role-playing games, I'm gonna just grab the stack and Nathan and his friends might like these.
Yeah. You grab the stack, and there's one at the bottom as well, underneath those 4, which is another D&D book. called Transmutations of Vegenti, which catches your attention. You can roll an intelligence check if you.
Okay. Oh wait, that's
Yeah, it catches your attention because Hagenti is a name that Nathan's always going on about. You know that his Dungeons and Dragons character is a cleric of Hagenti. She's apparently like a goddess of like alchemy and transmutation. She can turn things to gold. He says he's got a cool ability where he can like transform people into gold.
well. Knowing that, of course, I'm going to add that to my stack. And
Can you also roll an occult roll?
okay. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Nothing else occurs to you.
Okay.
It's you
So figuring I've spent
have that same
enough
focus.
time in here, I walk back to the counter and I think I found a few items I'd like to get today. And I place the stack on.
Well, before you reach the counter, you're heading back down with your stack of books, and you hear the bell of the shop door opening, and then you hear, before you reach the end of the stack, a man's voice speaking to the proprietor. He says, hello there, this is going to sound quite odd, but I'm hoping you can maybe help me. I came into this store a couple of years ago. It would have been around this time, maybe January, February of like 95. I came in with my daughter and she bought a book. It had a red cover and I hear it has a play of some kind.
So with hearing that, I'm gonna stop and kind of act like I'm browsing the books that are on the shelf right there, but really I'm not. I'm listening to what they have to say because I know that's the red book I've got.
Yeah, it sounds just like the red book that you've got. So yeah, you stop, still sort of concealed by the bookshelves, and listen to this conversation. And the man at the counter goes, sorry, do not worry. I keep meticulous records. If your daughter bought a book here, I'm sure we can ascertain what that may have been. And the other man says, thank you, that's really appreciated. I thought it'd be a bit of a stretch. I mean, it took me a long time to find this place again. It's so long ago that we came. Not a problem. I will put your mind at ease. I am B.R. Robert, by the way. Nice to meet you. And the man says, Thomas Wright. Now I will get our logbooks. One moment. And you hear a sound of a door opening. You saw that there was a door sort of just behind the counter. And there's just a brief pause, and then there's the sound of a book being placed down on the counter. Now let's see here. 95, you say? Yes.
I thought the year was currently 95.
The year is 99. It's January the 1st, 99.
99. What did I write? 95.
95 was when the last operation was.
Okay.
Yes, I think it might be this. 22nd of February, 1995. A playbook, yes. Well, I'm impressed that you've kept records that far back. Um, do you have any information about what this book might be, or do you have a copy of at all? You know, I think we may have a copy of this playbook. Come, yes. Do follow me, Mr. Wright. We'll see if we can find you a copy. Thank you. And then you hear them move into the stacks.
So I'm going to try to move around the stacks and see where they're going, so I can check out that section as well. But I'm going to try to stay such that uh, they don't see me, or at least that it's not odd. To try to keep it from being obvious I'm following them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you look around and see them head down to the end of this, like 2 stacks away from you. And they take a right, and are you continuously following them? Or are you trying to sort of hear them as they go?
I'm trying to hear them, but also I want to keep as good of an eye as I can. Not sure if these bookshelves are like that you could see through, or if there's like a wall that the books are pushed up against. Can I peek through the book stacks like in a library that I can?
Yeah, some of them. It's because it's so disorganized. There's partitioning walls in some part of the building, and in other parts there's just these stacks of bookshelves that you can look through to the other side. So you try and keep an eye on them, and then as you're following down on the other side of the bookshelves, you're hearing them head off to the right, and you head down the stack, and actually roll a luck test for this.
Hey, I got something.
Okay. Yeah, there's a point where there's a wall on the other side of the book, so you lose sight of them, but you can still hear them heading off away from you to your right. You head down this long stack of books and turn to the right, and it's not, because it's not neat bookshelves in lines. There's a bit of a tangle where you're trying to work out which direction that they went, but you do still hear them in that direction. So you hear, using the voices as a guide more than anything, you're slowly sort of keeping tabs on them. And the first thing that you're noticing is this bookshop is very big. It must take the space of like the entire ground floor of this building. Maybe the other shops either side of it, or just the storefronts, maybe with an apartment above. But this goes right back behind them, so it must have more properties worth than just a single shop, as you'd expect. As you're following the sound of the footsteps and the occasional voices, in between some of the bookshelves, you find a small wooden cargo crate. It looks like it's been pried open, and you can see some straw on the inside of it. And there's some kind of like glossy leaflet slightly sticking out with the straw.
So I'm gonna reach down and grab that leaflet just to see what it is.
It seems to be quite a relatively thick leaflet. Maybe it's like a dozen pages or so. And there is a woman holding a by this point maybe a slightly outdated phone for 99. It says, Seer, with you on your sojourns across the earth. And taking a cursory flick through, it seems to be like a technical instruction booklet for a satellite phone.
Okay, so, thinking that's a pretty odd thing to have in the middle of a bookstore, but maybe he just put the crate in the wrong spot. So I'm gonna just open the lid and go to put
Also,
the pamphlet back in.
yeah, you open the lid and put the pamphlet back in. Doesn't seem to be anything else in the straw. It looks like there's a gap in the straw where something might have been. I also forgot that I'd made the crate itself, so this is the crate. You can also roll bureaucracy. Yeah, it's got international import-export tags on, but they're... Yeah, it's not part of your job to know what those mean.
So, yeah, just thinking, well, that's pretty odd to have in the middle of the floor of a bookstore, but maybe he just didn't have room to put it somewhere else, and this was the most out of the way spot. So I put the pamphlet back in the crate and put the lid back on and collect up my stack of role playing books and continue to follow them to see what section of the bookstore they're going to.
Okay. So you continue on following the sound of them. You turn a corner and you just catch sight of them at the end of the corridor, taking another left. And so you head in that direction. As you're heading that way, you do hear a couple of other muffled voices off to the other side through the stacks. I think maybe 3 or 4 people on the other side, but you can't quite catch what they're saying. Maybe other customers. So there's a short muffled conversation, and then one of the voices you just about catch say, "The Patsu. Yeah, that's the way out." And there's something about the voice sounds vaguely familiar, and it's on the other side of a book stack, where you sort of look in the direction of the voices, and you sort of just about catch sight of figures moving, walking slowly past the bookcase.
So I'm gonna turn and go in the direction just to see. Hey, I recognize the voice. Let's go see who that could possibly be. While still trying to look like I'm just browsing the books, not trying to be nosy, but be nosy.
Okay. Do you want to try and look through the bookshelves? You could go around, but you're on a particularly long shelf that seems to go
Yeah,
like a
if
cross
this
section
is
across
a
the bookshelf.
bookshelf that has no partition between the two racks, yeah, I try to just peek over the top of the books or scoot, try to push the books wider to make a hole, pull a book out, something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, you pull a couple of books out, and it's a bit of an odd angle, but you're trying to peer through, and you just catch sight of 4 people heading down between the aisles, but you don't really get many details because it's just like a flash of movement. And as you're trying to peer and try and work out who the voice might be, all of a sudden, in front of the bookshelf, on the other side where you're peering, like it's leaning down to look at you, is the face of a grinning clown. And I would need you to make a sanity roll.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
So you take 1 point of sanity damage from the unnatural.
So that's gonna startle me, and I'm like, ugh. I drop the stack of books that I'm holding.
You drop the stack of books that you're holding, they clatter to the ground, you jolt, and as soon as you look back through the bookshelves, there's no one there.
So I'm gonna scoop up the books and back to my first task of finding where the bookkeeper was taken. Mr. Wright. It was Mr. Wright,
Okay.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
He said his name was Thomas Wright. Yeah, make another, either a luck roll or a navigate roll, whatever you prefer.
I probably got as much luck with both of them. Ah,
So in this confusion of this terrifying clown that you're not sure if you really saw or not, the voices have faded, and you're not entirely sure where in the shelves they've gone. And you walk to the end and take the left that they'd taken, and there's another like winding row of books, but you can't see anyone down there.
okay. Well, I'm gonna just kind of continue to walk in that direction, see if maybe I can, as I cross the ends of the bookshelves, see if maybe I can catch a glimpse of them, something like that.
Okay. So you head down this stack of books, and you come out into another gap between the shelves, and there's a couple more stacks nearby. Still can't. Actually, no. You hear a sound of a book dropping, maybe, from one of the stacks to your right, and that's the only sort of indication of movement.
Okay, so I'm gonna go off in that direction.
You head in that direction, and you guess you're probably heading towards the back of the bookshop at this point. This place is really big, and this part of the shop is not dark necessarily, but the it's a little gloomier because the gap between the hanging bulbs, there's two in a row that looks like they must be dead, and then there's a single glass bulb which is sort of illuminating the dust motes in the air, and very strangely, on top of a stack of books like 5 shelves high, there's a rather sort of rugged looking man asleep on top of the bookshelves. He's got his arm draped down the bookshelves. He's sleeping like a cat, I guess. And you can see that his boot is like partially damaged, and the tip of it is peeled up, and he's dressed like a classic sort of Depression era hobo.
So I just give him a puzzled look and like, what the hell? And figure it's none of my business why there's a man sleeping on top of the bookshelf in here. That's between him and the owner. And I'm gonna just keep going.
Yeah, so he's just snoring in a almost like comical fashion as you're going past, and you just catch him mumbling, "Let's swim down the lake and see the spars." He sort of mumbles in his sleep.
And I just pause for a second to listen to what he said and swim down to the spires? Is that what? And I just kind of shake my head and so weird and keep on going.
Okay. You head deeper through the stacks and are thankful to again hear the voices of Thomas Wright and the proprietor. And as you approach, you hear the owner say, just a moment. I think that I'm afraid there's only room for one, but I believe I have a copy down here. And as you turn a corner, you can see them at the end of this row of books. And the owner's lifted up a hatch in the floor and is just clambering down what sounds like a rickety wooden ladder. And Thomas Wright is stood there above, looking down.
Okay, so I'm gonna go around a corner where I don't want to get too far from this row, but I still don't want Thomas Wright to see me. Did we ever talk to him that he would know me?
No, you never met him.
Okay, well, I guess in that case, I'm gonna just kind of wander down that aisle and just look and kind of act like I'm browsing through the books and
Okay. How close are you getting to him in the hatch in the front?
I'm gonna stay.
There's books right up.
I'm not gonna get terribly close. No more than say 6 to 10 feet. Just give him some space. But just like I said, continuing to browse the books on the shelves right there, like take a book out, read the title, put it back.
Yeah, absolutely. So you hear the owner clamber down this ladder. It's sort of rickety. It sounds like he takes 5 or 6 steps down, and Thomas Wright is sort of looking down, kind of impatiently, and you hear the sound of a light, like a pull light switch, from down. And if you catch a glance to the hatchway, you see that the light below is turned off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Thomas Wright glances in your direction and sort of gives an absent nod. Ma'am, Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year to you too, sir.
Thank you. And then he looks back in the direction of the hatch. The light switch sound happens again, and you can see a light illuminates from the hatch. And then there's a sound of the owner climbing the ladder, and he comes up holding what looks to be an exact copy of the red book that you've got. Have you got any immediate reactions to seeing that?
I'm gonna try to not have a reaction, but I would think I would look for a little too long, but then, kind of go back to looking like I'm browsing the books on the shelf. I don't want to stare, but
So you maintain your cool, and yeah, Thomas writes it. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, Mr. Albert. That's the exact book. Oh, it is no problem. I am glad to be able to get you what you need. And he hands it across. Now I should return to attend the customers. And then he heads on past you after closing the hatch in the floor, and turns out of view the shelves. And yeah, Thomas Wright is just holding the book, staring at the cover, and you can see, like with your copy, the cover has that strange symbol on the front. And like, how closely are you watching his actions at this point?
I'm just going to be trying to do my best to look out of the corner of my eye. I don't want to make it obvious I'm staring at him, but trying to look.
Okay. So can you please roll a sanity test? Okay. So take 1 point of sanity damage. So you're watching Thomas Wright at this point, and your eyes cast to the front cover of the book that you're staring at, and the symbol that's on the front. Now, it's exactly like the one in your book, and it's exactly like the symbol that you found, I think, in a couple of places. You found a piece of paper with it scrawled on in Abigail's apartment.
Yeah, I remember the paper in the apartment. I don't know if there was anything else. Did Charlie, or I should say, Mustache. Yeah, Marble.
Marble.
I'm getting all the M's mixed up.
Yeah, Marble saw it in his shop window, I think. Maybe you haven't seen it at other places. I can't remember specifically. But each time, yeah, I mean, what you do remember is both of your companions had kind of a visceral reaction to looking at it, where they seemed to lose themselves for a moment as they were staring at it. And you get the sensation that this symbol is very much tied to the contents of the play, and that you've been wondering these past couple of years what kind of things that you're missing from interpreting the play, and this symbol imparts some of that knowledge. And you're not entirely sure how, but you get a sensation that you haven't previously when you've looked at it, kind of melancholy and like a slight tinge of fear. Yeah, it's suddenly like the cover seems to make sense to you in some way, and into how it links to the play. And the other thing that crosses your mind is that yeah, you're innately aware that as soon as he opens that book, he's going to be involved. He's going to see something that can't be unseen.
Okay, so right now I'm gonna be like having this internal debate with myself. Do I say something about the book and kind of give away I've been watching and following him, or what to do? And I'm finally just gonna decide. Okay, tell him that there's some odd things that happen to people that read that book, and so I'm gonna put the book I've got in my hand back on the shelf, and I'm gonna kind of walk towards him and, oh, that looks like a rather interesting book. I believe I've seen that before.
So he was just sort of holding it up to his face, staring at the cover. completely blank expression on his face, and as you speak, he seems to snap out of it, and then looks to you. Oh, really? You've seen this book before? What do you know about it?
All I know is that bad things happen when that book is involved.
What? And yeah, that's definitely catches his attention. He doesn't brush that off at all. What kind of bad things?
It seems that anytime that book comes up, people go missing. I would take care with that book if I were you.
My daughter. How do you know? Who went missing?
Well, I can't give any names because of the work I do, and we have to keep that confidential. But with my work, I've seen that book pop up in evidence several times and always related to missing persons.
Are you law enforcement?
Yes, FBI, sir.
And he looks quite distracted and distraught, but he does reach out to sort of shake your hand, like absently. I'm Officer Tom Wright with Nassau County PD.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance, sir.
You say this relates to missing persons cases? My daughter went missing.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. And um, I'm not going to reveal that I was involved with his daughter's case.
Yeah, I think trying to admit that. Make a charisma ×5 check, or persuade if you
No, no,
prefer.
I'm not going to admit. I'm going to act like I don't. Okay.
Yeah, exactly, because you're acting like you don't know it, and it's quite an important thing.
Charisma. Oh, just a straight charisma?
Yeah, charisma
Okay.
×5.
I'm going to fail everything today.
Okay. Yeah, so he doesn't immediately get suspicious when you say, "I'm sorry to hear that." But as the conversation progresses, he might be alerted. The FBI got involved with that case. They won't talk to me about it, really, but it seems like they've closed it since her apartment caught fire a few months after she went missing.
Oh my. I wish I could help you more, but I'm just a computer analyst. I only see things from that side. I don't really do field work.
This has something to do with computers?
Well, in my investigations, I've seen this book come across on the dark web, and then it seems to tie into folks go missing. It's strange. I don't know much more beyond that because, like I said, I don't do field work. I just find things on the web
Maybe
that I believe should be investigated, and I turn it over to my superiors.
one of the last time I saw her, my daughter Abigail, we came to this bookshop. The guy says February 95. And she bought this book. I remember her buying this book. It's basically the same. And she went missing a few months after.
Hmm. Well, I can't make any promises, but let me get your name and number, and I'll do some digging, see if I can find some information for you. And
Of course, yeah. I've got a card. And he looks around his pockets and gives you like a simple white business card with Officer Thomas Weston Wright, Nassau County Police Department, and his contact number.
so I'm gonna take his card, and you said your daughter's name was Abigail?
Abigail.
Okay.
Abigail
And
Wright.
I'm gonna flip over the card, and I'm gonna write that on the back. And um, I would think since I was just out going to the grocery store, not doing any official business, I don't have any cards for myself. Um,
There's we've got a woman in custody at the moment. She broke into my house a few days ago. Her name's Michelle Van Fitz.
Michelle.
She was tossing over my house like looking for something, and under questioning she said she was looking for information related to this book. I don't know why she'd think she'd find it at my house, but
Interesting. Well, you'll have to forgive me. I don't have any cards on myself. I just ran out of the house to go get groceries and decided to stop in here because I've never stopped in here before in all the years I've lived here. But I will do some some digging in my files once I return to work, and if I find anything, of
of course we'd appreciate it if you could get a FBI resources on this.
of course, sir. I cannot imagine what it is like to have a child go missing.
Of course.
Well, if you excuse me, sir, I think I've been out of the house long enough. I'm sure my husband and child have wondered how long it takes to run to the store for the few things I've picked up. I hate to have them worry.
Right. Yeah, of course, of course. Well, you've got my card. Thank you for the warning.
You're welcome.
I mean, yeah, he just looks like he doesn't really know what to do with the information, and yeah, do you leave at that point?
I'm going to. I was hoping he would leave first so I could go down into that hole, but looks like I'm not going to get that opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and leave and try to navigate my way back to the front without getting lost in the stacks again.
Okay. Yeah, roll navigate. Okay. Yeah, so this place is immense, and there's winding aisles of books everywhere, and there's not really any. There's not numbers on the ends of the stacks, so you can't really keep track of where exactly you were, and you find yourself going to the far end of the building, without finding the turn to the left where you wanted to head back towards the storefront. And actually, to give me a moment to think about that, shall we take a break?
Yeah, sure.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Should we say 10 minutes?
And we're live.
Welcome back. So you're trying to navigate your way back out of the bookshop, and this place is kind of a maze. It's lots of trailing, slightly sort of curved stacks of books as you're making your way through this building that seems to have no kind of logical pattern to it. And as you're sort of stopping to orient yourself, trying to work out exactly which direction the front of the store is, you hear another muffled voice through the wall, because you've made your way to an actual walled area, so you must be at the edge of the shop somewhere. And quite muffled, but in a raised voice, like someone speaking quite loudly through the wall. You hear a man's voice dig out, "I do invocate and conjure thee, O spirit person, and being with power armed from the supreme majesty, I do strongly command thee, by Berenices, Berlichinisis, Pomachea, and Apologia cities. Thee I invocate, the Boneless One, thee that didst create the earth and the heavens, thee that didst create the night and the day, thee that didst create darkness and the light. Thou art Orosnathus, whom no man hath seen at any time." And this continues.
Okay. Uh, so, being I'm hearing this through the wall, um, I'm gonna figure it's got to be like um, in the shop that would be connected, uh, on the other side. But
Yep,
wondering,
you'd know that to be your local hardware store.
but after having seen the hatch in the floor, I'm just gonna kind of look around at the stacks and see, is there a door here, something like that?
Yeah. So as you take a cursory look around the immediate vicinity, and this voice is continuing muffled, going through like dramatic, uh, partially English, partially Latin, there is a big stack of books against the wall. In fact, there's two big stacks of books by the wall, and you can just about make out what you think looks like a door, but it's at like knee height. Yeah, there's seems to be a wooden door, maybe some kind of like cat flap or something, in red painted wood, and there's two big stacks of books piled in front of it.
So I'm gonna move these stacks, and curiosity's getting the best of me.
Okay, can you make a luck roll? Okay. Yeah, the books are stacked very precariously, so you're quite careful with them and stop them toppling to the ground, move them aside, and yeah, there seems to be this miniature door and the wall. It is yeah, it's sort of not knee high, sorry, about sort of waist high, and it's like curved up a bit, like not a hobbit door, I guess, because they'd be round, but it's like got a nice point to the top and a little bronze handle and a letterbox.
Oh, like a mail slot?
Yeah, the mail slot in the door. It's 0.6 meters tall and 0.3 meters wide. The door, not the letterbox.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna start by opening the little nail slot and kind of taking a peek in, see if I can see anything.
Okay. Yeah, so the mail slot opens outwards towards you, so you pull up the lip of it and peer through. It's quite dark within. Your eyes sort of adjust, and you're having sort of kneel down between these stacks of books to look down through the letterbox, and you see there's a row of iron bars a short distance through the other side of the door. Beyond that, you think you see some like folded and stacked clothes. Like there's a couple of there's like 4 pairs of trousers, and you see some shoes, and then there's a crack of light, which is what you're able to sort of see through, and it looks like on the other side of these iron bars is the inside of a closet. And
Okay.
the voice is continuing beyond. Thou art Iabus, thou art Iapos, thou hast distinguished between the just and the unjust. Thou didst make the female and the male, thou didst produce the seed and the fruit. Thou didst form men to love one another and hate one another. I am Efen Konsu, thy prophet, unto whom thou didst commit thy mysteries, the ceremonies of Kem. Continuing onwards.
Well, I'm gonna open the door and see if I can just get a better look, but being hesitant due to previous experiences with the night floor and what happened when we get separated from each other, I don't want to go in. I'm just going to look in.
Okay. Yeah, you open the wooden door, and yeah, so you're seeing clearer now that there's a set of wrought iron bars, thick as your fingers, like blocking you like a jail cell between your side of the door and the side with the clothes on. And then, yeah, so it's definitely the inside of a closet on the other side of the bars.
Okay. Well, even though I wasn't going to go in, the bars blocking the door just kind of, I take a sigh of relief, like, okay, at least it's blocked. I cannot go in now. And I'm going to close the door and collect my books.
Yeah, as you close the door and you're starting to collect your books, you hear a voice from near you in the room. As a man says, "Who's making that racket?" And you turn and see this man. In colour. Yeah, so it's a short, rather sweaty-looking man in wearing a pork pie hat and old-time suit.
And I'm kind of look over my shoulder while putting the books back in front of the door. Oh, sorry about that, sir. I just was so busy looking at the shelves, I didn't notice there was these books here on the floor, and I accidentally knocked them down, just cleaning up my mess.
No, I mean whoever's making that racket on the other through the wall there.
Oh, that must be from the, what is it? I think it's a hardware store on the other side there. Must be the folks in the hardware store.
Is that right? I'm not too familiar with this part of New York. I'm not here for long.
Yeah, the buildings here are always very close together, so you can use
Right, I hear you.
when they get rather loud, you can hear them. I'm gonna just continue kind of scooting the books back in front of the door.
Well, I'm heading on a trip soon to Europe. Hopefully, we don't run into such shoddy buildings.
Well, the buildings around here are old, built a very long time ago, so they don't have modern insulation and things. You know, you have folks that want
Insulation.
to keep the historical aspect of things versus some folks who want to tear it all down and put up modern. So which way do you go? Old, new?
It's all about a mix, I would say. Old is new and new is old. That's how I sees it. These things, they all go in cycles.
Yeah, but they always say things come back.
Yeah, true enough. You can roll an intelligence check as well.
Okay.
Yeah, talking to this man a short time, you recognize him from a photo that you saw on the night floors. The one that was marked E. Mosby.
So off to Europe, you say?
Yeah, it's about time for a vacation, I think. Been working too hard.
Huh. I feel that. I could use a vacation myself, but unfortunately, can't just up and take a vacation whenever when you have a child in school.
You gotta make time for yourself. These worldly concerns, they'll keep you in place. And if you get kept in place, then you're just gonna start repeating yourself.
Indeed, indeed. But time for vacation shall come soon enough. Just have to wait for the summertime.
Yeah, it'll be a nice time for it. And then he tips his hat. And nice talking to you anyway.
Same here, sir. Same here.
And he heads down through the stacks. You can still, it's not muffled again because you put the books back. But yeah, the chanting is still ongoing through the wall.
So I am going to collect up my books and continue to kind of follow along this outer wall. See, trying to trace the outside of the building as best I can to get back to the front. Figuring,
Okay,
hey, if I follow the wall, square building.
that would make sense. Roll luck or navigation.
Oh, so I can feel it both of them.
Following the wall doesn't seem to prove the right strategy, as you continue going for a good distance, and you don't recognize any of the stacks that you've come past. And you sure you came this kind of direction when you first started following Thomas and the owner? And you come into a section of the bookshop which is even messier than the rest, in that there's lots of like torn up and crumpled bits of paper, and there's a strong smell in the air as well. Yeah, smells of pee in this area, and there's piles of refuse scattered all around. There's long dried scraps of water-ruined books, shards of broken glass, and finishing nails, whatever finishing nails are.
So I look at all this and
the light bulb above is broken, so this is kind of gloomy.
all right. So seeing all that, I'm like, guess they got started to do some repairs here and just said to heck with it. Strange. And
You also roll a survival roll.
survival.
Okay. There's also like scrape marks in the dust on the floor, which you can trace a short distance away from this like pile of discarded refuse. But you can't really make out what kind of... Yeah, you can't make out any footprints, but there's like slight drag marks on the floor.
Okay. Do the drag marks like go towards a wall, like somebody had moved a bookshelf type of thing, or?
No, just down one of the aisles.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna follow the drag marks, thinking to myself, I guess they were dragging out bags of trash or something, or rolling a cart. We'll follow that. Somebody clearly went this direction.
Yeah. So you follow on the drag marks. Make another luck roll. So unlucky.
I think I've only passed 2 rolls today,
And well, you'll get a bunch of skill increases.
except for luck.
That's luck, but yeah. So after a short while, you begin to regret leaving the wall, because maybe that was a good plan after all. You pass by a couple of shelves that you vaguely recognize, but you're not sure if you should be turning left or right to head back towards the front of the store or not. So you just pick one arbitrarily and head along, and you come into an open area. You lose track of any of the drag marks pretty soon after the area where you found them. You come across a bit of clearing between the bookcases, with a small round like reading bench in the middle, and next to this bench there's a crowbar resting against it, and there's a bunch of wood shavings on the ground, and a similar looking wooden crate, which is also open, with the lids like slightly shifted off it.
Well, I'm going to take a peek inside of the crate.
Yeah, taking a peek inside, there is... You pull out a leather trench coat. Looks quite large, and underneath that, more dramatically, an old, oversized, full-face gas mask, and a recently oiled pump shotgun that looks brand new. Roll a firearms test.
Oh, I'm gonna increase every skill today.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't glean more about the gun, but yeah, looks new, well taken care of, or like it hasn't been used.
Okay, so
And actually, this crate is on top of 2 identical crates. So the top one's the one that's been opened.
trench coat, a gas mask, and a shotgun. Interesting. So I'm gonna put the lid back. Well, I'll put the trench coat back in there, and then put the lid back on it, and I'm gonna move it and check see what's in the ones below it.
The ones below are sealed, so you'd need to use the nearby crowbar if you wanted to bust them open.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, makes a fair bit of noise as you crack it open. You crack open the second one, look through a crate with an identical set of items inside. So there's another gas mask, trench coat, and shotgun. All looking very new. And as you're examining these from the stacks, the owner comes wandering over. Oh, well, what do you seem to be doing here?
Well, when I come across just weapons sitting out unsecured, this does seem to bring up some questions.
Yes. Well, this is a place for questions. As I say, it is my duty to provide knowledge to fill wanting vessels.
And how does shotguns and gas masks do that?
Well, we get a lot of deliveries here, and I'm not sure what to do with them sometimes.
Well, you do know it's illegal to possess these and accept delivery without proper licensing.
Oh, my apologies. And he just smiles at you warmly. As you look into this guy, and the more that you've talked to him, like initially when you first came into the store and you had that brief chat about browsing, that didn't seem to be much odd about him. But the more that you look at him as you're having this conversation, you seem to find yourself finding more like aspects of his features that are either odd or unsettling. Like his teeth are like slightly yellowed. He's got slightly jaundiced eyes. He's got wrinkles in the side of his eyes that are there's something a bit strange about them.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just gonna look at him and, sir, I can't let this go. I work for the FBI, and this is not something I can ignore.
The Federal Bureau of Investigations.
Correct.
Yes, I would not advise you ignore that which confronts you. Who should I speak to about a license to have crates of such things?
Well, you have to talk to the ATF about getting an FFL license, but I have to call this in. These have to be removed. You cannot keep these.
Ah, I see. Do you need to use my phone?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Of course. It is back at the counter. Do follow me.
Okay.
And he leads you through the bookstore, and like frustratingly, within like two stacks of shelves, you're back at the counter, and he's got like a rotary phone on the front desk, which he sort of gestures to. By all means, make the calls that you need to.
Okay, so I pick up the phone and I call the office and inform them that this gentleman has crates of weapons, but no license to have them or to have received them, and they need to be secured.
Okay. In your conversation, are you making any recommendation as to a course of action? Or are you putting it into the hands of whoever you're contacting?
I'm going to put it in whoever the hands of whom I'm contacting, because that is not my area of expertise, other than just knowing a license needs to be had to receive shipments of weapons.
Roger that. We'll send it to him. Do you feel there's any immediate risk to life?
I do not believe so.
Act with the proprietor as you deem fit, and we'll send some folks down.
Okay. So I hang up the phone and I tell him, well, someone from the agency will be here shortly to gather these weapons. In the future, though, you should know that here we do require that you have a proper FFL license to receive weapons through the mail like this, or you can also have it sent to a dealer and then you pick it up from them.
I see. Yes. In the future, yes.
Yes.
I am sure I can navigate the required bureaucracy.
Yes.
I see you have some books there. Would you like to make a purchase?
Yes, please.
Of course. I will ring you up. And he sort of looks at each of the books that you've got, and he takes out a like a large ledger. It seems to be the one that he'd looked back for the record of Abigail. He turns to the latest page. You can see that the writing seems to all be in Arabic, and he writes a line for each of the books that you've written, and then he writes the date in English. And that will be $5.
Okay, and I get out my wallet and I pay him. You keep meticulous records, I see. Not many people are such excellent bookkeepers.
It is an indulgence of mine.
Well, now, if I had some old books that I picked up at different thrift stores and things like that, but I had no idea what language it was written in, would you be able to tell me more about the book if I brought it in?
Oh, I should hope so, yes.
Good to know, good to know.
I am quite well read.
Well, thank you, sir.
But of course, is there anything else I can do to help?
Ah, not at the moment.
Very good.
So I'm gonna gather up my purchases.
And Happy New Year, I believe.
Happy New Year to you too, as well, sir.
Ah, yes.
And I'm gonna exit, but not go far. I'm gonna keep an eye on the building for a little while to make sure he doesn't leave with the guns or have somebody come take them away. Just for a little while.
Okay. So you leave the store and sort of stay in the vicinity. So are you waiting for the police to show up?
Yeah, that would be a better idea for me to hang around until the other agents show up. So
Okay.
with that, yeah, since I'm gonna wait for them, I'm gonna stay close to the front of the building. Let him know, so you can see me that I'm still there.
Yeah. Yeah, so you went up outside the building. The weather's pretty bad. It's like, it's raining and it's quite windy and cold. Do you suck it up for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah. Roll an alertness check. Yeah, classic. Yeah, so you wait there for a while. You're probably there like half an hour or so. You're getting quite cold, and you sort of rubbing your hands together for warmth, and you see flashing police lights ahead. They've not got the siren on, I guess, but they've just got the lights. And as you're watching the police car approach, you look back towards the building, and it looks a little bit different. It looks like there's nothing in the window. There's lights are off inside, and it no longer has the partially peeled like writing the said books on, and it seems to be an abandoned shop. Please roll a sanity check. Yeah, please take 4 points of sanity.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so at the end of the road, the police are approaching, and you're stood next to this empty building. You looked away for just a couple of moments, and everything has changed.
So, not believing what I'm seeing, I'm gonna try to open the door. Uh,
Door seems to be locked.
and I'm just standing there, just staring at this door in disbelief, like and I go looking between the door and the books I have in my hand that I just purchased from there.
They're still there. You're still holding the books.
And I'm just like, can't believe what I'm seeing. Um,
And what do you want to do in terms of the arrival of the police?
I'm just gonna be like, I just came out of there. I purchased these books, and I show them the bag of books, and I waiting for you to arrive and turn around and the building's empty. I and
I've got to say, Agent Wiley, was it?
yes.
This isn't very professional to prank the NYPD like this.
It's not a prank. I promise I would never do such a thing. I take.
These interdepartmental pissing contests. It's, it's New Year's Day. We want a quiet day. You calling us to an abandoned building?
I promise you, it was not abandoned. I take people having weapons they shouldn't very seriously. I would never prank such a thing. A prank would be sending y'all a dozen donuts.
He, as he's sort of talking like this, quite exasperated, he looks to his partner, and then his tone sort of changes, and he's like, Agent Wiley, do you live near here? Is there someone we can call?
I live just down the street there. I was just out to the store to pick up a few things and saw the bookstore here and never popped in before and decided to check it out before I went home.
It's it's dark and cold. Let's do you want to ride?
I appreciate it, but it's only a few blocks. I can walk.
If you're sure. Well, we'll write up the report on this, and yeah, I'm sure your employer will be getting in touch.
Well, I'm sorry to make y'all come out, but I promise y'all this was not a prank.
You have a nice night, Miss Wiley.
You too, officer. And I'm just stare at the building for a few seconds more and start to walk down the street and turn and look at it again and keep on walking.
Yeah. Still seems to just be an abandoned building. And you head home, not sure what was real. And I think that's probably a good place to leave it, having departed the bookstore.
Okay.
Yeah, so roll your skill increases.
Everything.
There we are. It's a silver lining to the madness.
Uh-huh.
Done quite well there. Yeah, so after this strange event on the New Year's of 1999, life goes back to some degree of normal. And we'll find out in subsequent episodes how normal, I guess. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.